Good afternoon, everyone. It's always a pleasure and a privilege to be here at PDC, some of the other events that we have as well. It's a great opportunity for us to come and share some of the early thinking, some of the roadmap that we have. But more than that, what I find very valuable is the interaction that I have on one-on-one basis with a lot of you. Since yesterday, almost for a day and a half, I've had a chance to talk to a number of you actually about the scenarios, the opportunities, the kind of problems that you're facing. And that really helps us go back and take that input into the product and help shape great products from our team. So just out of curiosity, was there anyone from this audience in the last talk I did at PDC 3 years ago on device emulator? Wow, that's impressive. Thank you. I knew some faces here. Thank you very much. Welcome back. It's been a very exciting journey between the last PDC and this one. We not only shipped multiple versions of the device emulator. That's the talk we actually did, the ARM-based emulator. We shipped versions of Compact Framework, new tooling support in Visual Studio 2005 and 2008, shipped 2 versions of the Compact Framework, and pretty much extended the support of Visual Studio for devices to cover everything from Windows Mobile 2003 all the way up to 6.1, both in managed and native. So there's a lot of good work that happened in the last couple of years, and we still have more exciting things on our roadmap that we would love to share with you during this talk. Want to take the opportunity on behalf of my team, the Mobile Developer Group. We are part of Visual Studio. For you using our products, being great customers, giving us feedback. For this session, I have here with me Giorgio. And Giorgio, how come we ended up with a typo under your name? What happened there?
I don't think it's a typo. In my previous life, they used to call me like Deviner, kind of developer and designer. Then I changed job. And I was looking for a new job. And I wasn't looking like of what I was supposed to do in that job. I was just looking at the name. I was looking some fancy name. So my new role is evangelist. So now you can call me evangelist. And I'm going to be I'm a technical evangelist for web technologies. So Amit, last time I seen you was at Mix in Las Vegas. What have you done since then?
Oh, it's been a busy time, actually. A lot of traveling, a lot of going around, talking to customers, meeting people. And, one of the things I was missing, as I'm traveling, a lot of you also do, I can check a lot of my email. All of us have good devices. We check email. As a geek, there's one thing I used to miss, the ability to write code. So I thought it would be a great project for me to actually take Visual Studio and make it work on a mobile device. How cool does that sound? Let's see that. OK, so let's do some switching here. And you're going to probably see plenty of switching going back and forth. And hopefully, we should make that reasonably smooth. OK, this looks OK, I guess. OK, I'll go to VS. And start my little lab. I have a feeling there are a lot of geeks out here who would love to have something like this available, that when you are here, you want to write a few lines of code, you can absolutely do that. So look, there's my PDC demo edition. And it can do some interesting stuff. I've got not everything working, but so we've got the basic menus working. We have a project that I started working on. I was trying to see what to show you here. So let's see. OK, we've got a simple application. And we've got the design surface. It's all hooked up. It looks pretty neat. I can do simple drag and drop. That's working. That's not bad. And we go and switch to the code editor. Typing is a little hard, so I just kind of scribble here. So watch me do that. And it's a simple code. It's hello world, right? We'll display a message box. We do start debugging, watch the status bar as it does the build, and the build succeeds, and your application is running. And we start the app. Welcome to PDC. So that's what geeks really do. So what do you think of this, Giorgio?
Well, I think considering how people is reacting, we should open a business and start selling this solution as soon as possible.
Yeah, we should do that.
Well, this reminds me to a project we've done in Microsoft MCS some years ago. So basically, a company asked Microsoft to build an application. It was a electricity company. So the application was going to run on a Pocket PC. And the goal of the application was to read some meters like in the cellars and report all this information to a server, to a web service. So Microsoft in MCS has done the project, did the testing, everything obviously was working, and deployed the solution to the customer. Customer was happy. It's in the application, and everyone was happy. Microsoft was happy, the customer was happy. After a couple of weeks, the customer called Microsoft and said, hey, you know what? Your application is not working. We were like, how is it possible? We've done the testing. So we've done again the testing, and the application was compiling. We didn't have any error. Everything was going fine. So we just thought maybe it's just the user needs some time to start using the application in the correct way. After another 2 weeks, the customer sent us the Pocket PC, and those Pocket PC were completely broken. The screen the image was destroyed. So we thought, all right, we can have some bug, but from having a bug in an application to destroy the Pocket PC, there is a small gap there, right? So we went to the customer, and we went to the customer to see how the customer was using the application. And today, I can show you the reason for which the Pocket PC was broken. I brought here only for you, and this is why. So customer, what happened was that they were using the application in the cellars, so it was dark, and for security reasons, they had to use like gloves, security gloves that were really big gloves. So you can imagine like a person with the Pocket PC, the huge gloves, and the first thing that he does is losing his little stylus, the pen. So what did they use? Oh, a screwdriver, great. And they were using the screwdriver on the Pocket PC, and obviously, guess why? The Pocket PC was breaking easily. So was it the error, our error, or was the error of the customer? Probably it was a user experience error that Microsoft did, because we didn't design the application for that specific usage. So after receiving this useful feedback, we redesigned the application, having like bigger buttons and moving the content in the screen in order to have the application being more useful. So this is just one error that we as Microsoft, and we are pretty good, you know it, we've done. And all developers commit error. The important thing is to learn from our errors. And today, we are going to talk about building mobile application. So I know that most of you probably are great Windows developers. Some of you will be outstanding mobile developers. But for all of you, you need to remember that when we deal about mobile application, we need to think in a mobile way. So it's not just about making applications smaller, as Amit did. It's about making application running in a mobile environment. And this is really important. So agenda for today is we're going to really quickly go through an overview of the opportunity that we have in the mobile market. Then Amit will say something about Silverlight for mobile. And we will then go through a lot of demos. I think we have around 12 different demos. Last demo is my preferred. So really, I would suggest you to wait until the end, because we have a special demo that we never showed before, even internally. So this is the first time we are using this demo. And then we will open the stage for questions from you, and we will make some questions to you. And there will be a winner that will win a Pocket PC, right?
Blackjack.
We have a blackjack too. So time to start. Let me ask you one question. How many of you have at least one mobile phone? Doesn't matter if it's a Windows mobile or something else. Ooh. Everyone. How many at least two mobile phone? Everyone. How many of you have more than 4 mobile phones?
All Microsoft people.
Great. We have more mobile phone here than maybe in other countries. So this is, one more question. How many of you have an iPhone? Great. That is the door. Thank you for coming here. I'm joking. You can easily see what is the mobile opportunity. And if we look at the statistic, in 2010, so if you look like at 2010, we expect to have 4 billion mobile phones in the world. 4 billion is a huge number. especially if we couple this information with the number of people around that time in the world, which is going to be around one more or less 6.8 billions. This is like 60% of the people in this world will have at least one mobile phone. You are like the one having 5, 6. At that point, you will probably have 20 mobile phones. So, but really, you can see the huge opportunity that we have in this space. But there is always a but, right? If we have all this opportunity, if we have so many devices in the world, why aren't we building great applications today? What are the problems? And there are challenges. We've seen a lot of challenges in the past years. We have, for example, small devices. So we need to build applications that will run on really small screen. And then there is some difficulty in the input. So the data input might be really might be struggling sometime. And finally, each phone is different. Each phone has different behavior. Each phone has its own browser, etc. So we need something. Me as a developer, I just want to build a great experience, a great application, and run this application across the most as possible devices in the world. So how can we deal with this fact, Amit?
Yeah, I agree with you, Giorgio. There's a huge opportunity, and yet there are a lot of challenges. We are all software developers. We love to write code. But writing code brings its own set of challenges. You all heard about Silverlight, right? I mean, I'm assuming here, because I'm not going to intro Silverlight in detail, so I'm assuming people here are familiar with Silverlight. We've seen the huge potential that Silverlight delivers. It takes the best capabilities of providing rich experiences, things that we had seen traditionally in WPF applications, and giving you the ease of pushing those applications out to thousands and millions of users through the browser without having to do installs and setups and upgrades and any kind of maintenance. So it provided the best of both worlds. And what it also does is, in the sense, gives you new scenarios that open up, media scenarios that open up, rich internet applications that open up. And we looked at that and said, it's great, you're making all these applications. Look at the NBC Olympics, look at the Hard Rock Cafe. Just go to the Silverlight catalog. I'm sure many of you have written and posted applications there. Just some amazing experiences that you can see. And we sit at our offices, the mobile developer teams and things. Why do I have to use the PC to get the experience? I'm out, I'm sitting here, and I go to a website. I would love to get the same exact experiences that I can get on the desktop. So our team then decided to do some work, and a couple of months later, very, very pleased to announce that we have Silverlight 2 now available on mobile as well. This is the first time we are making an announcement about Silverlight 2, and you'll hear and see some of the demos that Giorgio has put together that will help you understand what the true potential of this technology is. So in terms of the benefits, you are all developers. You could also be consumers. You carry devices, you visit websites. Look at the opportunity. As a developer, one of the big things you're looking at is, what is my target? If I am going to go after the mobile community, there's so many millions of devices out there, yet those devices are very different. It's a small device, many more problems. Different form factors, different orientation, different resolutions, different methods of inputs, huge challenges that you have to deal with. And those are some of the things that Silverlight aims to address for the web applications that we are pushing this for. And not only will all things that we are going to show here work on mobile, they pretty much work on the desktop. And on the mobile, it will work on the Windows mobile devices as well as the Nokia Symbian S60 devices. So we are making a very homogeneous platform available to you through millions of devices where you can consistently run your applications. So that's a huge market opportunity you should look forward to. In terms of scenarios, primarily it's the same thing. You build rich experiences. Your customers are using the browser to visit a website, a mobile browser, and they get fantastic experiences out of that. And we are making sure that some of the things required to optimize running of media, for example, or how things would scale or how the input would work is all taken care at our end in a consistent way across all these devices. Many of you have invested heavily in Microsoft technologies using Visual Studio, using Compact Framework, using .NET. You'll see through the rest of the session that that's exactly the same set of tools and technologies that you can use to build these applications. And At this point, our goal is to have these bits available to general audiences to play around and give us feedback by the first quarter of next year. So that's the time when we will start giving these bits out.
Amit, sorry.
Yep.
We said we have 12 demos. We need to start showing some code. I don't want to stay on PowerPoint anymore.
Okay.
So let me see something. You are the developer. Come on.
Yeah. So here's what I'm going to show. So I'm going to show you how a Silverlight app is built. Let's start with something that simple. New project. And we'll take a Silverlight application. I'll just keep it at an angle so I can see it clearly. And we'll just generate a test page. I'm just creating a Silverlight application. I'm not doing anything special at this point. We're just going to add a simple button. So one thing I do is when I have to run these applications, I change the color. And these days, my favorite color, you can all guess, is Azure. Let's add a button. Give it a name. Just slightly different keyboard. I'm used to this small device these days for doing all my work. So, okay. Button 1. Give it a little bit of a width of 50. Okay, and give some content. Okay, so that's a little button that we have created. What I'll also do is I'll do the vertical alignment at the top, and we'll move it down the horizontal alignment to the left. Bad typing. Okay, that works. And what I'll also do is, on the click, we'll just insert a new event handler. So this is a very simple app. It's a XAML page that has a manage control, a button on it, with a simple event handler for button.click. And let's go and the code behind now. And when the button gets clicked, just change this content.
Okay, this is really difficult. If you have questions, just feel free to raise the question. Because how many Silverlight developers are there in this room? Great.
Perfect. So we've just successfully created a Silverlight application, and I hit F5. And that's not expected.
Nope.
Okay, let's do this again.
Stop the debugger. Just and go to the mobile. Start to the mobile.
Okay. Okay, this is fine. I think most of you know how Silverlight applications work. So if I had pressed F5, everything would have worked. You would have seen a web page with this little Azure color background and a button on top of that. So how do you make this as a mobile application? You actually have to do nothing. That's the best part. You don't have to recompile. You don't have to create a new project. This application just works. So how do you try this thing out? Two ways of doing this. One is the easy way. You start your application on a web browser, take your emulator or your device, and just connect to that, and it should work. And there's an easier way for doing that as well. And let's see if I can actually get that part to work. We have now added a couple of new options here in the debug dialog. So what we provide is a very, very quick option of taking a project that you have. It's a Silverlight application that you have written. You just have to press the Alt F5, and that would start up the emulator or connect to your device, push your project down. You can even attach the debugger and see it working. So let's give this a try and see how this thing actually goes. So we'll say debug and start debugging on device. We'll just pick an emulator right now. This is the same dialog. If you have been doing any mobile development, this is the familiar list of devices that are available to you. And we'll say connect. I don't know why that initial F5 failed. We'll see if this one actually works or not. Give it some time. It's just pushing down all the files. It's making a connection. starts up the Compact framework. We are using Compact framework to actually power up Silverlight on your mobile device. And if everything, the demo gods are in favor, yeah, we saw the button. This is a managed button. The exact same app that would have run on a regular browser is working right here. And then if we go and do a click on that, we'll say, welcome to PDC. So managed code also executed behind that. So this is the simplicity. I mean, this is really the ease and what you have to do to build an application that works both on the desktop as well as on your mobile device.
Really nice. Thanks, Amit. Now I'm going to show you another tool that you can use to build your application. So I'm going to close this Visual Studio. And this time, I will open Expression Blend. I already have a project. It's another kind of hello world. Let's call it Hello Duck. Why duck? Because I want to have a duck here. So first of all, let's change the dimension here. So I will set the dimension to be 240 by 400, which is the dimension of the screen on my Pocket PC. Then I want to change the background, and I just quickly have like a kind of gradient from blue to white. And then let's take the duck. The duck is a vector image from Expression Design. So I can easily select my image, edit, copy XAML, and pass everything inside my Blend application. And here it is, the duck. So next step is to group everything inside a grid. And I want to do something more nice. Specifically, I want to make an animation with my duck. So I have the duck here at the beginning. I create a storyboard, story walking duck. And after 1 second, I want my duck to be from the other side of the screen. So around here, right? So if we play the animation, it's just walking on the screen. Another thing, I want to add some easing. So I add some easing in and easing out, so that the duck will stop in the middle, will have a look at you, and then will keep walking. So I save the project in Blend, and I have the same project here on Visual Studio. So if I go to the code behind of my page, I just want to run my application, run my storyboard as soon as the application starts. So I create a loaded, and I create an event handler for this. And I take my storyboard, story walking duck. I set up the repeat behavior property to repeat forever. So the duck will keep walking forever. And I start my storyboard, so storyboard.begin. And that's it. I just compile the project. And again, I don't need to do anything else if I want to run this application on my mobile phone. Now, how can I show you the application on the phone? Just a quick note on the setup of this machine. All the demo that I will show you today are running inside IIS on this machine. So in this case, for example, I have a page here, Hello Duck, that has a classic Silverlight controls with the name of my XAP file. In order to speed up my setup, I built this small tool that basically opens this URL. So you should be able to see this. gsardo2 is the name of my machine. So this is the URL that I'm opening on the phone. So this tool just opened the browser to this address on my phone. So if I switch to the Wolf Vision and I run this,
move a little up.
As you can see, Internet Explorer is loading. You see in the Explorer bar the address of my machine with the website. And here it is, the duck walking. Let me go also to the screen. So,
thank you. Fantastic.
I'm sure that the duck is proud now. And believe me, we will see other ducks later. Okay, this sounds a bit scaring. It's not. Great. So this gives you an idea of how you can start building application with Silverlight for mobile using the tools that you're already using today. It's the same of experience. Now, I told you that we have a lot of sessions, a lot of demos today. The first one is going to be Baby's Mesh. Baby's Mesh, for you that never heard of this, okay, sorry, I thought you were looking at the PowerPoint instead. You're still looking at my lovely duck. So, I can leave the duck, and we can spend an hour just looking at the duck walking. So Baby's Mesh is an application that Scott Hanselman has written, initially with WPF, and then on Silverlight, and for the Surface, and on different platforms. And then Scott asked us, is it possible, how difficult and complex is to move this application to a phone? How can I run my application on a mobile phone? So this is really easy. Let me show you quickly the original application. Yep. So if run the demo that Scott sent me, which is like these 5 projects, it didn't need really 5 projects. 1 project was enough, but because it's him, he liked to have a bigger project. It's fine. So the application is really easy. As soon as I touch the keyboard, I can sounds, please? I have this kind of animation. It's really an easy application, right? You can ask Scott for more information on this. What's interesting here is that there are different, as I said, Silverlight project. And for example, I have shapes, and I have a different XAML shape for each shape, a different class for each shape, etc. So how can we bring this existing application for the desktop to the mobile phone? That's fairly easy and straightforward. And if I created a new project, Baby's Mesh Mobile. I added a reference to the existing project without touching anything to the original one. And then on the code on the page 2, I just need to create a different experience to show the content inside a mobile screen. But I'm using exactly the same class. So I'm using, for example, the same shapes. I'm using the same framework that he built. It's exactly the same code. I didn't have to rewrite anything. So if I run this demo now on my mobile phone, yep, I have again the same application running on my mobile phone. I would suggest you to have a look at the session of Scott to see this application running also on other platforms. So as soon as I touch the phone, I think you hear the sound, right? It's really silly, but that's what happens. You can just see this application with these nice characters blinking, etc. So it's just an easy application. And the transition from the desktop to the mobile was straightforward. Great. So does this mean that we can take any application running on the web and make the same application running on the mobile? Eventually, no. And this is because sometime probably you will want to show some code on the mobile phone, some interface on the mobile phone, and some other on the desktop. So how can you understand who is calling the application? How can you adapt the rendering for your application depending on the device that is calling the application? To answer this question, I have another demo of Summit, which comes from Mix, and it's just a slot machine demo. It's pretty easy. If I run this demo on my phone, and I run the same demo, so I'm running the same file on the desktop, you will see this is the application designed for the phone running on the desktop. And where is it? This is that same application. This exactly the same URL running for the mobile. This is designed for the mobile. What if I want to show something else to the desktop user? Well, I've written some code here. So if I go to the default page, I'm intercepting the call in the on init of my page, and I have this device helper.getCurrent. Depending on the platform, then I will redirect my page to a desktop version, or to a mobile version, or to a smartphone version, or in the future to something else like Nokia devices. So how does this getCurrent work? If I go to the definition, I'm reading the HTTP context current request. And this is something that you can already do today. There isn't a lot of documentation out there, but it's pretty straightforward to do this. So you have a lot of information about who is calling your application. For example, you can have the accept language. If you can understand the language of the browser. You can look at the colors. You can get the pixel. Or you have the user agent, which is the string that tells you exactly what phone is calling the application, what is the operating system of that phone, what is the screen resolution of the phone. So you have tons of information here, and using this information, you can better redirect the user to a specific device, layout, or whatever you need to do. So if I call now my application from the default, if I call now the default page, I'm going to be redirected to the desktop version. Instead, if I call this exactly the same URL from the phone, it will understand that the phone is calling the application, and the phone will be redirected to the mobile version of the application. Next application that I would like to show you is a game. So once we start building application, we need to take into consideration that the phone is different. The way we interact with the phone is different. The navigation of the application is different. One possible kind of navigation is the gaming application, where we have like a startup screen, then we could have some options, and then we have a main screen with the game, and everything is happening on that screen. So let me open this other Silverlight application, Connect 4, which is really interesting. And basically, I think most of you know the Connect 4 games. And I'd like to thank Helen for writing this code. I think he's here in this room. Is him? No. He's probably in the overflow room then. He told me that he was coming. And he's written this code for Windows Form, and it's a great algorithm. And we can spend like hours going through all these algorithms in details. It's really a great C# algorithm. And if I run this demo on my mobile phone, you will see the speed of the application. So again, I didn't have to change the algorithm. I'm using C#, and I'm using C# inside my Silverlight application. What I've done here is adding some UI to the application. So for example, I can go to the option, and I can select an easy level just to start with. Then new game, and I'm in the game mode, and then I can start playing me against the computers. And I believe me, the computer is pretty smart here. So who are you supporting, me or the computer? If you have any suggestion, I know how to win, by the way. Humans always win. So this gives you an idea of the complexity of application that you can add, because this is really a complex algorithm in place. The next demo, instead, is something more like about multimedia. We are using a phone, so the scenario will be completely different. What about creating like completely different UI? And UI where you don't have any more buttons, you don't have labels, but you have something else. So in this case, what I've done is, just for fun, to be honest, is an easy instrument. So I'm transforming my device inside an instrument. And specifically, this is a guitar. And you don't need any instruction manual to use this application, right? As soon as you see the application, what is the first thing that you want to do? Well, touch one chord, and it will be just a guitar. So you can eventually play like a guitar inside your phone. And if you want to do like the full chords, well, it's fine, you can do it. So I'm not sure if you hear the bling, so bling, it's kind of this. There is audio coming out of this, right? So after we've done this, I was going to do another demo using video. Obviously, you have the media. To play video, I'm still using the media element control as for the audio. And I was looking to some video to show you here today. And I thought it might be interesting for some of you that never seen like the backstage of a conference like this, to see how speakers prepare to a session. So this video comes from the speaker lounge, which is somewhere in the last floor. So speakers are working, everybody is concentrated on his presentation, everyone is really keen, and then there is somebody there trying to dance. All right. So when I say that Amit cannot dance, am I right or am I wrong? Or at least you can do better than this, right? So starting from this, I said, all right, so how can I teach Amit to dance, right? He's working on the mobile team. How can I teach him to dance? I need to do a demo where I teach him to dance running on a mobile phone. So what I've done is another demo here. And I will show you something in Blend. I created a man. Well, thanks. Otherwise, if you want to, we can, instead of using the screen, I mean, you can keep dancing there in front of the people. While we were recording the video, the other speakers in the lounge were looking at us like, what the hell are they doing? Do you know that you have a session later? So this is the man I was talking about. It reminds me kind of you, Amit. So we have an head, we have a body, and I have a basic object for, well, basic component for each piece of his body. And then I created some storyboard. For example, if we take story main to right, my storyboard will animate the object to one specific position. And what I want you to notice here is that I'm only setting the final destination of the main. I'm not setting the beginning one. So wherever it is going to move on the right when I call this. How can I call this storyboard? Well, what kind of input do we have inside a mobile phone? We could have the stylus, we could have the keyboard, we could have the buttons, we could have the soft keys, the joystick, the finger. We have a lot of different input, and we have gesture as well, for example. So in this case, to trigger my animations, I'm using two of them. So I set up here, oh, sorry. I'm hooking to the keyboard, so I can get the keyboard events and understanding which key is being pressed, or in this case, for example, the joypad on my device, or I can recognize some gesture. And how can I recognize gesture? Well, it's pretty easy. I've done a helper, gesture helper, that just recognize some like this kind of gesture, and it's just something easy where that hook to the application and understand what kind of gesture the user is doing. And then, as soon as I recognize the gesture of the input, I will call the storyboard that you've seen previously. So let's run this application to see how it's working in the real life. And I'd like to have Amit learning from this application. So you can stay there dancing.
What am I supposed to do?
Follow the animation. All right.
I won't do the jumping part, okay?
So, ready?
I still have 2 slides to talk.
You should jump and go right, left, up, etc. Okay,
Thank you.
You understood? Well,
I'm a
one clap
master
for Amit. Okay, what we've seen now is like some kind of technical demo. Then remember that I'm kind of designer as well. So I thought I'd like to have some kind of design application inside my phone. So what is really missing inside my phone is a paint. I don't think I ever seen a paint running on a Windows mobile phone. So I thought, let's do a kind of paint tool for the phone. In this application, I'm using the ink. So I suppose that you know that in the Silverlight framework, you have like ink capabilities, ink support. So you see the application, the way in which this application has been built. There is an header, then there is the main content where you can draw, and on the bottom there are like buttons to specify the color or the dimension or other things like that. So I can just use my pen and, for example, draw line, etc. Or I can select a color, for example, some red, some blue, and write, let's clean this, and write hi, PDC. And you have full ink support inside a small screen. And again, this is really easy to do, and I think it looks pretty nice. And eventually, you could also change the width of your stylus, and you have full control on this. Let's go to something a little bit more complex. So we have a mobile, so we probably want to access information from a web service. In this case, I want to show you a demo where I show some picture, right? It's just a picture browser. First of all, let me run the demo first. Switch back to my phone, which is not this one. Too many switch here. So one common scenario is like downloading content from the web. How can we download content inside the phone? Can we access web services? And the answer is yes, obviously we can. In this case, I've just made up this application where I'm calling a web service and I'm downloading some content. So you can see at the beginning, I can choose, for example, a category. For example, I select Beijing. These are pictures from my albums. So in Beijing now is downloading like small thumbnails. I'm not downloading the full picture. I'm just downloading small thumbnails of each image in this album. And then when I double click on the image, I will download the other bigger image, and I have my image on the screen. You might think, oh, this is just fake. You're not really loading the images from the server. So let's go back to the machine now, and I will show you the code to realize this. First of all, you've seen the screen where I select the category, the group, which is photo albums. So if you open the example in the photo albums, the page is really, really easy. I have an items control albums where each item template is using a specific template that I defined inside the resources. So I'm using a data template to define the aspect of each item of my list. And I can have data binding. So if I go to the code here, code behind, I'm just using data binding on the item source of that control. And I'm retrieving the categories from an helper. Then once I select the category, I move to the other page, which is the photo, right? And in the photo, I'm downloading the small picture. How can I download this? You see here, there is a class called web picture helper, and then there is an asynchronous method called get web picture async. I've written this helper, and if I navigate there, what I'm doing here is basically creating a web client object, which is part of the framework, and then I'm downloading the string that tells me the full URL of the image. And as soon as I have the web service return me a result, I'm able to parse the results. So I'm using link xdocument to go through this list and to create my image albums. So this is basically exactly the same thing that you can do for the desktop today. And it's still working, obviously, on a mobile.
Oh, that was a very impressive lineup of demos, Giorgio, that you had put together. But I think we still have one more. A demo?
Really?
From you?
Tell me which one.
I have a special secret demo he's been working on, hasn't told me much about that. While he sets that thing up, I'll do a quick recap on some of the things that we actually saw today. We made the demos fairly straightforward and simple to communicate some very specific messages. Right from the very first demo that showed you the fact that what you're building is Silverlight, and the same exact DLL, the same exact ZAP, all your code would work exactly the same way when you call that application from a mobile device. It's a very important aspect to understand, especially if you have been doing a lot of compact framework programming. You would say, oh, that's a different runtime, this is a different runtime. With Silverlight, you get an absolutely homogeneous environment that runs consistently across all types of devices and desktop without you having to rewrite any of the code. You also saw how what we are doing inside of Visual Studio to make the whole experience of being able to push your application and test it on different devices much simpler. Right? We are using the infrastructure that we already have, something you are familiar with for building compact framework and native applications. We're just going to take that and extend that forward so that you don't have to learn anything new. And not only for Visual Studio, but you'll get the same experiences in the other tools that you also use for building Silverlight. Simply Expression Blend, for example. A lot of the XAML that you saw just works. The projects are absolutely compatible. So that's one good thing from a developer's perspective, that I don't have to learn anything new. What you need to really focus on when you're building these applications is really around the experiences. So if you take your browser and take it to any website that has Silverlight content, in theory it should just work. Will it be great experience? Maybe, maybe not, depending on how you have done your desktop site. I mean, imagine having to pan and scroll through a big page inside a small window of the mobile browser. So the things that we showed here were largely around what you should be thinking in optimizing for the small screen. How do you design for things that have to fit in a window that is 400 by 280 pixels, for example, versus multi-monitor screens that are out there, 24-inch. So the focus should be on that. couple of demos Giorgio put together was around the dancing man. We specifically did that one to show the input mechanisms. One of the challenges on a mobile device is really the diversity of the inputs that you have, right from touch to using a D-pad to using any other form of inputs, including accelerometers, for example. So you would have to adapt your applications to give the best experience to your customers, who are seeing that from the mobile browser. We also showed some more advanced features like the web client, some very advanced libraries that are just going to work on the mobile device as well. So you can build really interesting, rich applications just like you have been on the desktop. You want to build a small dashboard for a line of business application. You want to get information down or pictures down from Flickr, for example. All those things you can enable with absolute ease using Silverlight and run it in the same way on the desktop as well as on the mobile. The implementation from our side is also the same. Silverlight is a plugin inside the browser, very much like what it is on the desktop. And we will be working closely with the Windows Mobile team as well as the device vendors to make sure that it's available in the devices so customers don't have to go through an install experience and have to wait for a meg of things to come down and download. So all those things we are working on. We did a small tech review with a couple of our MVPs and early adopters. Some of them are actually here right now to see, how the bits are coming along. And it's quite impressive to see the number of little applications people have starting to build on. And once, we feel, we have the bits in good shape, as I mentioned earlier, the early quarter of next year, we will have it available more broadly for distribution for you to try and give us feedback. In the meantime, as you can see, if you just use your regular application, and as you're building them, think of this talk, think of some of the things we told you about, and try to look at your application from a perspective and say, wow, will this look nice when I actually view this from this very small window? I have personally done interesting things like just shrinking my browser down a little bit, making it small to see what kind of an effect will my customer get. In most cases, I can figure it out even without having to run it on a real device of this is how my people are going to see it when they look at the application. So you can see a lot of similarities. And then we have interesting things on the roadmap. We are working to get things like the location, get access to camera, all those things figured out so that you can build very comprehensive set of applications, not just things that you go browse and get data snack, but a lot of other interactive scenarios that get opened up because some of these services are available. Right now, the focus would be pretty much giving you a good parity between desktop and mobile and giving you great guidance on how to optimize your applications to work and look nice on a mobile device, variety of mobile devices. And you can see the opportunity, right? It's lots of Windows mobile devices and even a larger number of Nokia devices out there. That will be an opportunity for you to go exploit and build great applications for your customers. Giorgio, are we
No, you are waiting for me. And as
Yeah.
I said, this is the first time we're showing this demo.
Okay. This is actually
As
very
usually
interesting.
a little bit more time. Thanks.
At least he's told me it's a very interesting thing. So we'll have to wait and judge ourselves on how this is. So in the meantime, I'll take a couple of questions. It'll be good if you can maybe just use the mic so it gets recorded for the benefit.
Any plans for Silverlight for the iPhone?
iPhone is a locked platform at this point. So
Well, there is an SDK.
no, they have an SDK.
And
They
you
do
have-
not allow runtimes to run
And
on the
Microsoft
iPhone.
has an investment in Apple.
I agree they have an investment, but the platform is still locked. So unless iPhone goes and does something about that, we won't be able to work.
Is there going to be a story for running Silverlight applications outside of the browser on the
At
mobile
some
phone?
point, yes. Not in the build that I showed you. Everything I showed you was running inside the browser, just like how we do it on the desktop. And there are definitely plans to take it outside so that many more scenarios can get enabled because of that.
Okay, and something on the iPhone side. You can build, y'all should consider maybe building a static application because Unity just announced, it's a mobile gaming platform. They use Mono and they build static binaries to get around the no JIT rule on the iPhone. And I personally, as a developer, would take the hit for my clients, a 5 or 6 meg application so I could give it them an iPhone experience because, frankly, it's a lot better with multi-touch.
Okay. Your
Okay.
feedback will be heard with the team, and I'm sure they'll, respond to that.
I think we will take other questions later. Thanks.
Yeah, thank you.
So we are ready for this special demo. You've probably seen this slide before. This is something about the future. So we are trying to see where we will be in the future. So close your eyes. You should probably first read the slide, then you close your eyes. Relax. And you are in the future. And you can open your eyes now. So the scenario I want to show you today is kind of like, imagine to be in this situation where it's me, small person, with a huge screen and a mobile phone in my hand. And I want to be able to these things to communicate, right? Ray Ozzi spoke during the keynote about the clouds. So how mobile meets the cloud? How can we make the cloud interact with the mobile phone and vice versa? So what I've done today is building a kind of Silverlight application out of the box where, let me explain the setup here. The main screen, where you see waiting for connection, is a WPF application. The other tool, My Mobiler, is just a tool that is projecting, is like doing a remote desktop on my mobile phone. So what you see in the tool is just what I see here on my mobile phone. So you can see I'm inside Internet Explorer. This is still a Silverlight application. So let me go full screen here. So the next thing is that in the future, I suppose that we will be able to have my phone communicate with the cloud and communicate, for example, the position. So when I'm near, for example, the screen, I will be able to say, the screen will be able to see me, and the two devices will start interacting. So what you see there on the screen could be some content. In the case, I promise you that we will have other ducks, so I have a lot of ducks. And here, if you see my phone, I can use the phone to navigate inside this space. So these applications are talking through the clouds, and I can really browse the application using the accelerometer on this phone. So you can see that as soon as I rotate my phone on the right, I'm going on the right, and I can go fast or down, and I can go in diagonal, and I can really browse, for example, in this case, a 3D space of object, which could be my mesh, could be something else, anywhere, in any time, using just my mobile phone, using Silverlight. So what do you think of this? The next thing is, right, I have my mobile phone, I have the cloud there somewhere, and I have this huge screen, but I want the information to appear, to be on my device. So as soon as I click here, I'm just moving the object from the cloud to the phone. So it just takes some time to synchronize, and here it is. I'm just getting my object, or other objects from the cloud and moving them inside my Silverlight application, inside my mobile phone. So this is really something that you can do, and you can really imagine how to break the barrier that we have today. We have these clouds, we have a lot of services, we have this powerful tool. And what I'm asking you today is really to go further, to think out of the box, and to create this kind of extra experience that brings a lot of value to your existing application. So that said, this is the part where usually we say to the people, okay, we are done, let's receive some questions. This time instead, we are going to ask questions to you. And we're going to do a really easy game here. Let me explain the game. We're still receiving questions later from you, by the way. We just want to do another small thing. So we have a prize here, which is the Blackjack 2. It's a real device. And one of you, in 5 minutes, will have this device. I apologize with people in the overflow room. I think they will not be able to play this game. But if you have any questions, just send us an email, please. So you're really lucky. You're already winner, right? Instruction. This is an easy game. I will ask you a question. And you can, okay, so sorry. First of all, everybody stand up. Sorry, I know you're tired, but you're going to enjoy this, hopefully, I hope. So I'm going to ask you some questions. If you think that the answer is head, you need to put your hands on the end. If you think that the answer is tail, you need to put your hands on your back. So it's pretty straightforward, right? let's see if you understood the rules. First question, do you work for the public sector? So if the answer is yes, you need to do like this. If the answer is no, you need to do like this. And obviously, later we will tell you which one is the right answer. If you pick the right answer, you keep standing up. If you pick the wrong answer, I will ask you to sit down, please. So, do you work in the public sector? Great. So, it's nothing personal, but the answer here is no. The correct answer. So, people that work in the public sector should sit down at this moment. It's really nothing personal. It's something that we have to do for external rules. I really don't know why. So something more complex. Remember, we are... Believe me, somebody will make it wrong. So which one is better? Oh, really? Oh, that's great.
Oh,
that's
good.
great.
Good
I think we have 100% feedback on Windows Mobile. So correct answer is Windows Mobile, thanks. Thanks for people that are being really honest and say the other one. Still, the door is dead. I'm joking. So let's go to something more complex. And you've seen this information during our session. How many mobile phones in 2010? Head 4 billion, tail 5 billion. Correct answer is head. Next question. What is the RGB value of Azure? Head or tail? And right answer is Amit. Amit is the owner of the question.
Yeah, this one is head. So anybody who had tail can sit down. Thank you. Oh, that's starting to eliminate people.
We can already recognize the designer, the developer, and okay. At some point, you need to make the question wrong. We don't have 100 questions, so thanks. What is the last service pack for the Compact Framework 3.5? Head or tail? Correct answer is tail. Ah, ooh. Ooh. Ooh, we still have a few people here. Well done to those. So let's go to something a little bit more complex. What is the clock speed of the Samsung Mirage? Head or tail? I think we will keep the mobile phone for us.
Yeah.
And the correct answer is tail. All right. Wow, so you think this is really good. You think to be good then? Huh? We can skip this. What is the token of the system assembly? Come on. You are .NET developers. You should know this. Head or tail? Correct answer is head. Okay, how many people here? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay, can I ask you to come here in front of the others, please? I don't remember the next one. Okay, you are still competing. You are not friends. You are. What is the CPU of the HP EPAC 211? Head or tail? Come on.
Quick.
Quick.
You have 10
And
seconds. Yep.
5, 4, 3, 2, 1. And the answer is head. So we have two last person. Let me pick something really difficult for this. Just wait there. You can make friendship and... Here it is. When is my birthday? Quick. No, you can't. So, head? No, you can't. Head or tail? And the answer is tail. So, we will make another question. I think this should be fair.
Yep.
Or I should take the device.
No, we should. I'll keep the device. We'll do one more question for them.
One more question. But please, different answers. So, again, from my background. How many days did I spend in US this year? Head or tail? Sorry? It's half a day, yeah. I count the hours spent in this country. So half a day, more or less. So the answer is Ed. So congratulations.
Thank you.
So thank you for your time. Now we want to open to your question, and we are
yes.
happy to answer. Thank you very much for your time. Please fill the feedback form.
Want to use the microphone? Yeah, sure. So I noticed on all of your demos there that none of the vector graphics seem to be rendered anti-aliased on the mobile device. Is that something that's going to be like that, or is this something you're working to improve before release? And is it in any way related to whether the device has hardware accelerated graphics, and how does that stuff work?
So actually, performance still requires a fair amount of work from our side. There's a lot of work going on. These are some very early bits that we have that we are prototyping on these devices. So performance will improve. We'll take advantages of the acceleration as well. So what you're seeing right now, you'll definitely see a significant improvement between now and even the next couple of weeks in times to come. So I should not feel very worried from a performance perspective.
And on the anti-aliasing perspective?
That I'll have to check. Honestly, I don't have an answer right now for you. So I'll definitely follow up on that and try and get back either through our team blog or someplace. I'll get an answer on that.
All right, thanks.
Yes,
Can you give us an idea of the communication protocols you're going to support, like WCF or sockets?
This will keep parity with the desktop, so both WCF and sockets will be available. So the code should just work. We're not trying to keep any differences. The only thing we have right now in terms of some of the differences, people ask me, the big ticket items I would say is dynamic language runtime support will not be there. So it's like a big block of things. We are trying not to make fragmentation based on smaller APIs. So it will be a big piece that goes away. But so far, all of the networking stack, WCF is being significantly improved between what we had in Compact Framework, the traditional CF, and for Silverlight. So there'll be improvements there as well. The other thing would be, say, Media Brush, for example, is one of the things that's probably not going to work right now. But the rest of the experiences would be the same.
When you're talking about the mobility side, are you contemplating being able to take this back to embedded as well? What
Yes.
I mean, so it's WinCE.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah, at some point in time, it will make it into CE as well. But our immediate focus has largely been on the Windows Mobile platform.
Do you have an idea in terms of version, just a notion of how far back in the target?
For CE?
Yes.
No, not at this point.
How about for mobile?
For mobile, it will be some variation of 6x that we will be supporting and higher.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you.
So this is kind of on the same theme there as the anti-aliasing. We're spending a fair amount of time today developing for Windows Mobile and the Compact Framework, and one of the things that is really painful to do is like simple graphics things, like rendering a PNG image with the alpha channel intact, for instance. So the Silverlight stack for Windows Mobile, is that going to fully support transparency channels and images and doing things like variable opacity and the rendering stack and things like that?
On the images, I'm not sure, but the rest of the controls, I know we support full transparency and blending. So if you take a button and you want to make it transparent, that does work today. I haven't tried it with an image to give you a very certain answer, whether it would or would not. So another thing I'll have to look back and,
All right, I'll come up and give you my email.
Maybe you should also come back, have a chat, a couple of people from my team at the booth. So what we'll do is after this session is over, both George and I will make our way down to the Windows Mobile device bar in the expo area. And, you should definitely come there and have a more detailed discussion on some of your scenarios. Some of the talks that I also want to recommend is a general Windows Mobile starting chalk talk that's happening tomorrow that I would recommend. And we showed some of the Scott Hanselman, the Baby Smash application. That session's already over, but if you're going back and looking for the thing, you will be able to see it on the videos pretty much in the next couple of hours. So I wanted to make sure you're aware of this.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
Hi.
I just wonder if you will support Deep Zone Composer in the mobile version?
The plan is to be able to support Deep Zone Composer. We are looking at the impact of network latency on some of the performance characteristics to finally say whether it will work nice and look nice in terms of an experience or not. But so far, it's definitely on our list of things to make sure we go work on and understand it a little more.
And the second question, will you support sockets transferring?
Yeah, I believe yes.
Okay, thanks.
Okay, so might as well ask another one.
Okay.
Is it from a Silverlight app on Windows Mobile? Is it possible to call out to arbitrary .NET Framework managed assemblies on the device?
No. Even though we are sharing the same runtime engine, we will restrict the Silverlight app to the Silverlight set of APIs only.
Okay, even if, is that going to be true even when you take the step to run the Silverlight app outside the browser? Is that
Maybe, may not be, because that's still very early. But what we're getting today, absolutely we're sharing the runtime, but you're exposed to only the Silverlight set of APIs that will be available. So we don't want, malicious things to start happening. You're visiting a website and suddenly you're calling and doing some kind of p invokes on your system. It's a web interaction scenario. We've got to be extremely careful about the integrity of the device and the customer scenarios there.
So things like doing an integration with a local barcode reader on a special device, for instance, it's not something you're going to be able to do?
No. Barcode would be hard, but we will be providing certain device capabilities, like especially with GPS and camera. These are some of the things that we want to provide in a very consistent manner to all Silverlight applications. But outside of that, no, not at this point.
All right, thanks.
I got the impression that Silverlight Live Mesh apps would be able to run on Windows Mobile. Is that a correct?
Yeah, at some point in time, it would be. There's work going on. You saw a couple of demos, this morning. Also, the BBC iPlayer. In fact, the user experience designer for the mobile version was actually Giorgio. So a lot of good work behind that. Yeah, those scenarios will get enabled. The integration with Mesh and some of the services integration will continue to evolve as even the desktop Silverlight continues to evolve scenarios around that.
Will that capability be exposed in Q1 next year when the first CDP comes out?
No.
How quickly or how closely do you think this will follow with the desktop version? There's a lot of updates that have been kind of mentioned behind the scenes, and we get the impression that there's going to be a lot of updates available next year. And if this version stays far behind, we'll have to continuously build two separate applications.
Yeah, this is one thing we've been very conscious about from the very beginning. If some of you have been following us from Mix, when we first announced Silverlight 1, one of the things we actually, we're talking to a lot of our internal customers and partners, drop that so that we can minimize the delta between the desktop and devices. And we're working very, very closely with the desktop team to keep those deltas extremely small. So if they have newer builds coming out, we sync up as quickly as possible. So when we ship, you'll see that the delta will be there by the fact that they probably RTM a couple of weeks or months before us, but it's going to be very, very small. That's the goal. That should not feel that we are missing out on versions.
You said Q1 for CTP. When do you think we can get the final? Do you have any sense?
No, I don't have a sense right now. I think we'll wait to get broad feedback on this technology and take it on from there and see what best aligns for the RTM dates.
Thanks.
Yeah, we want to ship it as anxiously as you want to get it, trust me.
The Silverlight control on the desktop is about 4 megabytes. Will the Windows Mobile version be on the same size?
Yeah, it will be on the same size. The core, AG core, the Silverlight portions of this are roughly in the ballpark of 1.1 meg right now. And the rest of the CLR, we are using Compact Framework itself. So that gives a certain bit of an advantage. But yeah, the package will be almost the same. It's not going to be significantly different. In fact, it might be a little smaller because of certain encoders that we may not actually ship as part of the CLR. But from an end user perspective, I hope that is not a concern, because our goal is to actually get them into the devices so that you just have them with you. You don't have to go through a 4 meg install before you can see the application working. So we'll definitely take care of that. Yes, Nick.
Since you're using Compact Framework, I assume if the compact framework is already on a device, then you wouldn't have to update it. But let's say that version of compact framework is not there already, then is it going to install it so that other compact framework apps can use it later?
When we ship Silverlight, it will be shipped as a package. So both Silverlight components and the compact framework will be together. So you shouldn't see that as two separate things. And once the compact framework is there, the other applications can also use any traditional changes that we make. So you have 3.5 right now. The internal versioning that we have, if there are any enhancements, your traditional apps will be able to take advantage of that as well.
So is that going to be 3.5?
We haven't finally nailed down whether it's going to get a dot release or an increment on the version.
Cool, thanks.
Okay, so looks like no more questions. Please feel free to drop by at the device bar. Thank you very much for your time.